You finally press upload on your latest video that you took several days to make but gets no views. You post your newest Twitter thread, hoping that this one will go absolutely viral and give you tons of followers, likes, and even money down the line, but nobody reads it. Is this it, you ask? Am I a failure? Will it always be like this? Maybe it's not for me after all. Maybe I should go back to video games instead. If you are a new creator like me, you have all these thoughts right now, this video is specifically for you. I've been writing and filming for over a year now. I'll give my top 5 tips on how to stay in the course and never quit again, regardless of how motivated you are. Tip number 1, make it extremely easy and make it into routine. According to the mega best-selling book Atomic Habits, the best way to start good habits is to make them as easy as possible. But I've been thinking of it for a while on what easy actually means and come up with 3 levers of easy, I call it. They are accessibility, clarity, and support. And if you want to make your behavior more accessible, you want to reduce the number of requirements needed to do it. And I'll give you an example. Let's say it's morning and you have to write something, but you don't feel like it. Even the thought of getting up, turning on coffee, turning on the computer, and becoming motivated seems too daunting, so just stay there in bed. But if you have your phone nearby, have a document loaded up there, and tell yourself that you do not need motivation at all, or even not need to be more awake than you are. The activity is extremely easy now. You can just type in bed. Clarity is to a degree that you're aware of your surroundings here and now and what to do next. And if you do not know or not aware or even not want to guess what's coming forward, then it becomes a lot more harder. But if you carefully follow your thoughts, being still and just do nothing, it will soon be very obvious on what to write next. Or at least type down what you're thinking until something shows up. The last one, which is support, is how much you can add in order to help you without you being dependent on them. So they help you do what you want, but you don't need them in order to do what you want. That's a big difference. Support can come in many different ways. Not only in terms of people that can give you information or advice, but also tools that offload the entire process from your brain. My favorite are note-taking apps or just writing a document. And this way you can keep your headspace clear at all times. So by making it more accessible and more clear and with more support, either digitally or physically from other people, being consistent is a whole lot easier now. You also want to anchor it to routine in your calendar. If your calendar is clearly visible and you check it as often as possible, it will be more effective. Tip number 2, burn the boats and give yourself no other options. So if you want to make unwanted behaviors harder, you want to invert those 3 levels. You want to make it less accessible and more unclear. Less clear in other words, and with as little support as possible. Or just avoid doing the activity altogether. That's also an option. Because after all, this is what being productive and having clear priorities mean. You know exactly what to do, but more important, all the things that you should not do. So you set clear boundaries on what to not do and follow through. A personal example for me is making these videos, and to be even more serious about this, I decided that nothing else is more important than this. So therefore, at this moment, I keep social activities to the bare minimum, which for me is 5 to 6 hours a week. I never play video games, and I only watch YouTube when I cannot do anything else. I will probably not be that like this forever, but this is the season starting off, and this is the necessary part. Tip number 3, love the process. Most people have this one goal they want to achieve. Maybe a bestseller, lose weight, blow up on YouTube, etc. But once you hit that milestone, we will never be satisfied. This is what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill, when we naturally adjust our baseline happiness, whatever happens. So in other words, what you really have is a process. This moment, the next hour, the next day, the next week, onwards. It will always be with you wherever you are in time. And once you embrace that there is no end, but to make the most of right now, then the flow state is just right here waiting for you in my experience. And the flow state is one of the coolest experiences you can ever have. But if you do not enjoy what's happening right now, then it's a lot harder. I don't really think that you can be consistent and not love the process to some degree. The ones who succeeded in their actions have always found a way to accept the guilt and embrace the boredom. After all, it's all about doing the same thing for an uncommon long period of time. If you can find a way to really love this thing, it's a lot easier. Because if you do not do it, you will never beat someone who works as intensely as you do, but also love the process. But if you like what you just heard so far, you can click the like button. Thank you very much for being awesome. Tip number 4, create buffers and margins to never stress out. Bad stress is the opposite to creativity. Once you're frantic in this tunnel vision, it is hard to do any progress and you want to escape from it, whether it's drinks, drugs, video games, or just numbing out. The way I managed to reduce that kind of stress in my work is to create buffers. When I wrote an article every day, I made sure to be finished in the morning or at least before lunch. This way, no matter what happened that day, I had enough margin to not miss. And even with these YouTube videos, I'm creating a higher and a higher buffer. And even if I did not have such a buffer, I would still post it Tuesdays or Fridays, but make it way shorter and easier. And yes, sometimes you need to lower your standards to hit the desired streak, whether we talk running or going to the gym or simply showing up in front of a blank page. Tip number 5, thinking decades. Because here's the deal, we all have the tendency to compare ourselves to others because it's pretty hardwired, especially when our peers get a lucky break, a viral thread, or the career is taking off. It's so easy to feel demotivated. But as Alex Hormozi says, the wealthiest people think in decades, not days. And once I incorporated that mindset, it was a game changer. Because if you're committed to putting at least 10 years in one thing, you're no longer concerned about how other people are doing because you have this long time horizon. They might quit after 5 years, but if you play for 10 years, you can simply outlast them for another 5 years. So this is why it's so powerful that you can simply win by showing up if you give it enough time. So if you're judging yourself right now and how good you are and why you're not at your desired milestone yet, just have this broad horizon, or simply not think at all, but just enjoy what happens. So you got all these alternations between here and now and decades. But with these 5 tips though, there are moments when it's okay to quit. What do I mean by that? I quit many things in my past, from a very successful Pokemon Go career to my master's degree to uploading podcasts, writing books, and even writing daily articles. Yet I'm still in the game, but more focused now. The growth hasn't stopped, but simply changed form. So if your intuition tells you that there's a better way and you have learned to sometimes and is this the right call? Then by all means go for it. But here's the challenging thing about this, because we creators, we have this thing called shiny object syndrome. We see opportunities and jump back and forth between them. So how do we actually know when to persevere and when to pivot? I honestly don't think that there's a simple answer. It all depends on the context and your gut instincts. But if you have a better answer to the question, please let me know in the comments. Until then, I hope that these 5 tips that I use to stay consistent has been really helpful for you. Just enjoy what happens and make it better. But if you really want to make things easy, you want to do effortless note-taking every day in order to keep your headspace clear at all times, you can learn more about it in this video right here.